A lovely day. Hey guys, it's your girl Alicia, aka Geek XX Chic, back with another reaction to Titans. We are on episode 6 already. It is called Connor. So I'm, again, a little excited. Connor, again, and I think I've said this in like 3 or 4 of my reactions already this season, in that my reference point for a lot of the characters in this show is based on Young Justice, the animated series. I also watched the Flash animated movie that had a lot of, not the Flash, what was it called? It was one of the ones on Netflix anyways, of what happened when Barry went back in time. The one that explored his, the paradox, where he went back and saved his mom and it just basically screwed everything up. Anyways, there was a lot of characters that were in the Young Justice and Justice League that were in and out of that series as well. But my point is, I don't have a lot of in-depth knowledge of all these characters, so when I hear Connor, I'm thinking about the Young Justice character, who is the clone of Clark Kent. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how the show chooses to depict Connor in this series, and if he is going to have more abilities, less abilities. So if I am ignorant to some of it and I make some comments that don't make sense in the episode, that is why. Please bear with me. But I am very excited to see how he's going to incorporate. And as we ended the last episode, we saw that Jason looked like he was potentially going to fall to his death. But as I said in the last episode, it's just far too early for Jason to die. They put too much time and effort, I think, into his character at this point to just have him die like this, even if it would be a huge impact to Dick's character's storyline. We're not going to know whether or not he survives unless we watch this episode. So without further ado, let me just go on in and jump into this, and then we will chat about it later. Okay? Let's go. Oh. Yep, this is Connor. Krypto. Okay.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
Dreams.
Yes.
Innovation.
Sure.
Vision.
Stop.
Solution.
Okay.
Friendship.
Okay, how many words can you throw out here? Aww. How much did they pay you? I don't think you liked that commercial. Sir, can we put some clothes on, please? Somebody be doing squats. Thank you for placing those clothes exactly where you did. Krypto, can we get the hell up out of here, please? Stop literally putting your junk in my face. So, you have the clothes. Is it that he doesn't know that they actually go on the body, or... I mean, I'm fine with him being butt-ass naked for the whole episode, but... Do you think him and Gar are gonna have, like, naked offs, you know, for when he transforms, Anyway.
Aspirin's not gonna fix this.
But it might fix my pounding headache. Those are cars. Those are cars. Yo, Connor! Those are vehicles! Why are they driving in unison like that? That's weird. A lovely day. Please don't steal it.
What's the matter with you? I'm sorry, it was an accident. Take it easy.
Whose memories has he got?
What's the matter with you?
Excuse me, where did you learn such language?
Steal my money and I have money? Okay.
Sorry, bitch. You get robbed by me now.
Don't hurt me.
Aw.
Thanks. So,
It was the nicest robbery she's ever had.
you might want to change.
Don't hate on my outfit, girl, just because you in that boring ass black. I look fly. Smell like death, but I look fly.
No partner, no kids, not even a dog.
Okay, you ain't gotta blow my spot like that. Jeez.
True love.
Look at that strut. He feeling himself, too. Okay, this dog is too cute and I can't handle it. Oh, here comes Clark's memories. All up in that Kansas grass. How far did he go and how much money was in that woman's purse?
What's the matter with you?
Oh, he was a jerk.
Sorry. It was an accident.
But that's probably why he was blind.
More and more.
See what happens when you visit evil upon children? You go blind.
He would have done anything for your approval.
He never cared for anyone's approval.
Why are we having this
I
conversation?
cared about yours.
I.
Hey! Shut up!
What are you doing?
That did nothing, you idiot.
You were designed.
To kill Superman.
Who's my other dad?
His name is Lex Luthor. He's very smart and,
Evil. Completely evil.
well, he's very smart.
Thank you. Exactly.
I need to know who I am.
That's a long journey, son. We ain't got time for it in this episode.
Are we gonna hit the road?
With what? I burnt the tires. Sorry.
Cadmus to study the theoretical possibilities of cross-species cloning.
I'm 2.
Okay, let me make this simple.
Thanks.
Making me was wrong.
So wrong.
No, I mean,
So many levels.
it's not that simple.
But you're cute, so
Can I call you mom?
Smart mouth.
bit awkward.
Maybe she'll bring us some hot dogs.
Ew.
Get it? Hot dogs.
He's like, not funny.
Get it?
I have lasers in my eyes. You really want to try me?
So what? I don't care, and you're not my mom.
You're damn right.
That was quick. You got the title for all 2 minutes.
Don't you dare! You come right back here now, both of you!
Look at her trying it. It's cute.
It's gonna make him leave his girlfriend alone?
How? Are you gonna throw him through a wall?
Break him in half.
Are you gonna kill him?
I don't know!
Fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't anger
You wanna know who you
the
are?
strong baby. Meanwhile, back in San Francisco. Are we in real time? I'm so confused.
Welcome home, Connor.
I mean, I'm not one to judge since I've only been outside of a pod for like 24 hours, but this place looks gross. I have higher standards than this, I'm sure of it. Or at least one of my dad's does.
There was an isobutylene explosion.
What now?
Fumes were highly toxic.
Oh, thanks for walking me through it.
People,
I told him he needed to use human genes to stabilize the alien ones.
Why?
I gave him the idea to use his own DNA to create you.
Poor you. Moving on.
I could have tried harder to stop them, but I didn't.
Because you're a scientist.
I just want to leave.
He's like, can we just not have this conversation and go through your existential crisis?
all the answers that you're looking for are on the other side of that door.
That never ends well, that phrase. Don't do it, Connor.
You know, I really suggest you don't.
Well, you already put the big mystery. Of course I'm gonna. I'm 2. Krypto's like, please, please don't do this. Please, yes, please don't be an idiot. Oh, there's the rest of the clones, right? Are these the failed experiments? Oh, that's gonna be completely traumatizing. That one is definitely the one that looks the most like Lex. Little shop of horrors. Oh, booty again. But that booty don't look right. Don't wipe it. Just kidding, do it. Do it. But then sanitize. It's like, I took it back. I think you're a horrible person. You're a horrible, 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 horrible person. You and the dog like, kill her, kill her. I don't like her. Never did.
I'm sorry.
Wow. This is gonna be messy.
Woke up yesterday. Why did you attack those scientists?
They looked at me.
You're not a monster.
At least half of you isn't. Good news.
Your life is gonna be difficult
Thank you.
and complicated
Great.
and painful.
Is this a pep talk? Cause
You said they made you back.
They didn't make.
we don't have time for this more.
You have a chance to be better than I am. You have to get out of here.
Awesome.
I don't want to leave you.
So this is how he stumbles upon. I gotcha. I got you. I'm picking up what's going down.
Oh boy. I can't.
Krypto's like, let me just zap him. Just give me a little eye zap. They ain't never gonna believe it was me. Up, up, and away, my friend. Oh, so he's gonna catch you. Okay. Look at you leapfrogging these buildings. Got you. How you doing, handsome?
Who the fuck are you?
Thank you. Is the appropriate answer. Jason's like, I don't know you like that, so I'm gonna get up.
I'm just glad I could help.
Oh, what a nerd. No, this one's not funny.
What happened?
Light him up, Corey. More strays. Let's go. No, not the puppy. So was it actually was it that chick who shot him? Because why wouldn't she just keep going? Or maybe she thought he's gonna die. That's probably why. That also makes me wonder whether or not Lex allowed her. Maybe he told her to kill him if... That makes sense, actually. Lex would cover his tracks over anything else, even if it was his prized project. Well, guys, that was the latest episode of Titans, which was called Connor, and I think it was a really good episode, actually. I didn't really think they were going to spend the majority of it in a story about Connor because, as I said before, they haven't been so great about introducing new characters and giving them a whole kind of full rounded introduction. So, I mean, it's a good thing, and here's how I feel. Let's just start it out. I've already said that, like, the first episode of the season that I prefer to have episodes where we get to see everything that's happening. But I kind of understand it in this episode because we ended the last episode on such a cliffhanger of Jason potentially falling to his death. There really wasn't a way to go back to real-time events with the Titans and tell this storyline at the same time. So I get why they did it, but again, as I said, I prefer knowing, like, you know what I mean? I kind of like the back and forth. It's kind of rough to have whole episodes where we really don't get to see the group or see what's actually progressing our storyline along. But this was, honestly, it was a good episode. It was definitely a little rushed. I could definitely feel that they were like, how do we tell this guy's entire backstory and do it in like 40 minutes? Yeah, there were moments that just felt like pure exposition. Like, obviously, the lady doctor, I've already forgotten her name, she was clearly there to do our exposition for us, to give us the background on Cadmus, on Lex Luthor to a degree, to why Connor's experiment happened, how it was successful. Like, they went through that quick. There's a lot that's actually involved in that. There's a whole very deep and twisted backstory between Lex and Clark, and obviously we did not have time to explore all of that, and that is more absolutely going to be something individual for Connor's character. But I think the show did the best that they could to give us the most important components of what we needed to know as far as what we can expect as far as Connor's journey now that he's joining the cast and joining the show. I'm assuming he's joining the cast now. So in that sense, I think they did a great job. It was a little bit rushed, as I said. They did definitely have moments where it felt like they just shoved a lot of exposition and story in our face. But I know they didn't really have the time to, I shouldn't say they didn't have the time. I guess the only other way that I could have probably suggested is maybe showing, like, it would have been nice to have a few flashbacks maybe of seeing like Lex having these conversations and seeing the doctor be the one to be like, I can't believe you did this, and then watching, you know, like different stages of Connor as he grew up and stuff like that. That could have been kind of cool. But I understand that as far as trying to get it up to speed and then have it incorporated with him joining Titans, that definitely put them under the pump for how much they could show in one episode. Although one could argue as well, though, that they could have potentially been giving us pieces of this since the season premiere. I'm not going to harp too hard on it. It was overall what we got was really good. I think the actor who's playing Connor is doing a great job. I think he's doing he's just really doing a great job with emulating that wide-eyed kind of, you know, very innocent, but at the same time very stern and very commanding all at the same time. Like, that can't be an easy thing to go with. Like, being this giant, super strong monster baby is not an easy thing to portray. And I think that the actor is doing a great job of, like I said, giving us that innocence and that childlike behavior that we expect from someone who's only been in the world for 24 or 48 hours, but also the moments when he really feels like he's supposed to do the right thing, like the Superman thing, he does it. And the rage that comes out, the Lex Luthor level of fury, he also, we see the, you know, the change in disposition there as well. So again, kudos to him. It's not an easy thing to depict well. I feel like a lot of actors could go south with this and thinking that that meant that he's supposed to be really juvenile or really kind of flat. But they did a really good job of I think he's done a really good job with just finding that really good medium of this childlike mind that's trapped in an adult's body with the memories of two full-grown men. That's pretty much it. It's the most twisted and interesting goulash that's ever been made. But that's what he's playing, and so far he's doing a great job. So kudos to him. I definitely am interested in watching Connor develop as the season goes on and how the Titans are going to help him get there. I mean, I think if there was ever a good group for him to be around, it would be a bunch of teenagers. They're still going to be mentally and emotionally ahead of him in some respects, but adults tend to be a little bit too far removed from what it's like to be a child a lot, especially when dealing with a situation that has all the implications that Connor's does. So that's where teenager's more simplistic way of looking at things is going to be really helpful for Connor. And obviously it's going to be great for him to have actual friends, since it looks like he lost Krypto. Now, I'm not sure if they did that just because maybe there wasn't a budget to do special effects for the dog. But I really hope we get him back. Krypto's such a cute little puppy. That dog was so cute. Kudos to the dog actor. He did a great job. But yeah, about the story, let's get a little bit into that. I think what I liked the most was the visit to the Luthor home in Smallville and having Connor experience Lex's father in one capacity when his memories were from a completely different one. And I think why it was real interesting to me, and I know it wasn't like a massive part of the episode, but children who've been subject to abusive behavior, obviously they have their viewpoints on how things happened, why things happened, and it's obviously a terrible, horrible thing no matter what. There's no excuse whatsoever for that type of behavior. But they don't often, in a lot of shows like this, take the time to actually look at the flip side and see the person who committed the acts, or the person who was the vilified character, seeing what their thoughts and viewpoints were on what, or their perspective on what happened. Having Connor show up, and then you've got, you know, Dad Luthor in his old rocking chair. He's blind in one eye, or completely going blind one or the other. And he's, oh, you know, you're a stranger, come on in, let me make you some tea, let me make you some meals. You know, just showing all this sweet kindness to strangers. And then having even Clark and the dog, well, actually no, the dog didn't like him, but having Clark just be like, but having Connor just be so comfortable with this man initially and trust him and feel this kinship with him, and then have those sharp memories of the trauma that Lex would go through. And it's really interesting, again, because that's a really good also perspective on how trauma affects us. The fact that it really is something that literally changes us as a person, because we've got Connor, who's the splicing of two people's DNA, and what does he get, right? He gets the deepest, most life-changing things, are what are intrinsic to him as far as memories and as far as impulses, right? And in Lex's side, we're going to talk about Superman's in a minute, but on Lex's side, we know the Lex Luthor that we've been exposed to through the movies and TV, etc., has always been a very calculating, power-hungry, just evil villain. You know, if he had the hair to grow a mustache, he would twirl it, right? One thing that the show Smallville did way back in the day, and I feel like a couple of movies have touched on, is the fact that Lex was indeed a person, that he is a human, and that not everyone just wakes up bad, right? Like, there were things that happened in Lex's life that led him down the path that he took. And seeing how he grew up in this household with a father who was a scientist and who he wanted so desperately to please, and who did all kinds of things in the name of, I want to please my father, but then having his dad not be able to see that and instead respond with disapproval. And we see there that Lex thought that the disapproval was above his brilliance, and the disapproval was of all the things he was doing to impress his father. But when you see his dad's perspective was that he saw that there was something in Lex, this lack of a moral compass, as he put it, his inability to see when he's going too far. And instead of trying another way to kind of help Lex to see that, no, like, you know, science at all costs is not okay. You know, just because science and curiosity, they're very important things in this world, but there needs to be a limit. And his father, unfortunately, probably also enhanced by the fact that he was an alcoholic, he didn't communicate that to Lex in a healthy way. Instead, he tried beating him. He tried an abusive way, kind of to force or shame Lex into feeling the things that he thought he should feel, or at least have these things. Like, the moral compass is important. His father wasn't wrong in seeing that void in Lex and trying to fix it, but the way he went about it was completely wrong. And unfortunately, Lex didn't even get that point. Like, when he talks about how Lex just stared at him and didn't cry despite the abuse, which is absolutely horrible to think about. It's just like, Lex wasn't you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so sad that even with all of that, I mean, you see a father who clearly does love Lex and does feel pride for him, and yet he's so warped and twisted in his own way that he doesn't see that his behavior was wrong. no matter what was wrong with his child. And conversely, you see that Lex does not see that his father loved him and wanted the best for him, even though he did it in the absolute worst way possible. And again, I'm in no way saying that people should empathize with or try to understand or anything, people who've, you know, done any type of abuse to them. I've never been through it, and I'm not speaking from a place of, you know, of authority where that's concerned. I'm simply talking about a character study here and how interesting human behavior can be, in that, you know, the two viewpoints of these men who do love each other. Because Lex, the fact that we heard Connor get up and scream like, all I wanted was your approval, like, that's something that's obviously still very important to Lex to this day. Even though he probably hates his father for a lot of things, it's still his father, and there's still love there. And they could probably heal what's happened in the past if they would actually sit down and talk about it, but that's probably never going to happen, because Lex obviously is a very deeply wounded and very deeply twisted man, if he is the same person from the comics. And his father, you know, clearly still does not see that his way of trying to teach Lex anything was completely wrong. Anyway, I just thought it was a very interesting study, and they definitely spent more time on the Lex side of Connor in this episode. So I do hope that throughout the season we're going to see more of him explore the Superman side of him and what motivates him in that way, outside of course, the super strength and all the abilities. But I thought that was a really interesting character study, and I think it's a great kind of a groundwork for a Lex character. I don't know whether or not we're ever going to see Lex in this show, but if we do, I think it's really cool that they've laid down these really cool ideas and this whole kind of foundation for what kind of a character he could be. And again, the kind of influence that it inevitably is put into Connor, as far as the rage and as far as the anger and as far as the real issues with betrayal. And we saw, I've seen that in all the portrayals of Lex Luthor. Loyalty was extremely important to Luthor. And if he didn't get it, that's really when you saw the ugliest side of him. Sadly, we didn't get to go to the Kent farm. Maybe that's coming in the future. But yeah, other side of that, we did see a little more of the Superman side as well. You know, that intrinsic need to help people. Like when he saw the woman being... the woman being robbed in the alley, and he instinctively knew that that was wrong and it had to stop, even though he'd only been out in the world for a few hours at that point. But then, of course, not having the depth and the understanding of the world to know that taking her money afterwards was not okay. That part was actually really cute. But yeah, like, we see him just instinctively, impulsively. He doesn't have to be told. It just instinctively happens, where he sees a wrong and he wants it to be right. The fact that the woman there, the doctor, I'm sorry, I cannot remember her name, when she said to him, don't be a hero, you know, you have to resist that impulse. It's a very interesting, I know that wasn't a throwaway line. It was definitely something that we're going to see Connor probably struggle with throughout probably the rest of this season, if I'm thinking. It's probably going to be throughout the rest of this season. Him thinking about whether or not he should try to self-preserve by not using his abilities the way that she told him, but also having this deep inclination to do what's right. And as he starts to bond with the other members of the Titans and starts to feel a sense of kinship and family with them, it's going to be much harder for him to just sit back and allow things to happen, especially when he has the abilities to stop it. I think it's going to be very interesting now that he's there. I'm happy that we've got another member of the Titans puzzle, you know, coming together, and I'm very excited to see how it's all gonna tie in, of course, because, you know, again, we're assembling an army against Deathstroke at this point. That's pretty much my viewpoint. Now we have another soldier, but one that, if Deathstroke's done his homework, he'll know that Connor is probably immune, or not immune, sorry, that Connor has a vulnerability to kryptonite. I don't know how accessible kryptonite is, obviously. Anyways, it still is a wrinkle that obviously Deathstroke was not anticipating, and one more for Team Titans. I am interested as to how they're going to get him healed, because obviously we saw that those kryptonite bullets did pierce his skin, and he didn't look like he was doing too well. But Corey had she had a very interesting look on her face when she looked at Connor, and then she looked to whoever it was that shot at him. So again, with Corey being a Tamaranian, she most likely knows about Krypton, or maybe has heard of it. She might know something about how Kryptonians work. I feel like she's going to be instrumental in helping him heal. There's also the fact that Rachel can heal, which for some reason this season we seem to just keep forgetting. We haven't really brought it up, but Rachel could also potentially heal him with her abilities. But I think the main thing, obviously, if they can get those bullets out of Connor, he'll heal. Yeah, it was a good episode, actually. Like I said, it was really good. I did miss seeing the rest of the team, but I think they did a great job of introducing Connor. And again, I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face, justice for Gar. How did Connor get this whole full-on entry to his character explanations? Not entry, intro, sorry, to his character, and we still don't know anything about Gar. Like, seriously, show, it's getting ridiculous now. It's starting to feel like a personal attack. Y'all need to give Gar his episode already. Gar deserves to have a full backstory episode. He deserves for us to learn more about him outside of what we got in that Doom Patrol episode. It wasn't enough. All right, rant over. What did you guys think of this episode? How did you feel about the introduction of Konnor's character, and how do you think he's going to play a part going forward, as far as, do you think he's actually going to go up against Deathstroke, or do you feel like maybe he might end up exiting stage left until next season? Because bringing him in on the sixth episode is kind of late. What do you think? Please leave your comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. And I hope you liked this video, guys. If you did, please click that like button. If you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya.